I can go. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, everybody. Welcome to the first ever Makashis News Rundown. A little show we put together just to give me an opportunity to give my opinion on the news. And generally, just, yeah, we do this regularly anyway on my channel, so we thought we'd just jazz it up a bit, especially for my 1 year anniversary. And this is going to be a regular scene every single week at 7 o'clock here on Makashi Games. So thanks so much for coming along. I really appreciate it. So today we've got all sorts to look at. We've put in quite a bit of effort to this. Yes. And so, yeah, I just want you to think. Just think. If that's all this does, is just makes you think. This is what Makashi thinks. Maybe you'll think the same. Who knows? I don't know. Why don't you think about this? And there we have it. That's our intro, over and done with. So the premise of this show is we've got a series of different categories that I would normally look at anyway. So we're going to be taking them from the top. I'm going to be giving you my impression on what these news articles are really talking about. It's going to be purely me. You can get involved up there. We've got all the alerts, all the sound effects. I can't hear any of it, so you do what you want. So taking it from the top, that's the format in a nutshell. Damn, I'm blitzing through this. This is all takes longer on paper. In real life, talk too fast, very nervous, don't know why. I do this every day, right? Nearly every day I stream. I've not ever been nervous before a stream before, so this is very strange for me. What happened? Did you get a double bois? Thank you so much, Dr. Steph. So I'm just going to roll straight off with science and technology. Let's hit it. Welcome back. We're diving straight into the land of science and technology, one of my most favourite of all subjects, certainly the area I think I'm most clued up on. So really, the general format is this is going to be a weekly gig, right? So normally there'll be a run-in thread, right? You'll know, oh, last week he said this, what's happened since? Well, we can't do that. We're all new. So we're just going to take it from the top. You started streaming and didn't give me a Discord notification. I didn't do it out everyone, did I? Oops. So what has poked out at me in the news over the last few weeks? Well, one big one, which I ain't gonna lie, I'm pretty offended by, if I'm frank, is Nvidia. What the fuck are they doing? Like, what? So I'm chomping at the bit for a 3000 series RTX card. Like, you have no idea. I need it. It's not even like it would be a nice to have, or I'd prefer it. Like, I need it. I'm a streamer, yeah? Like, you deserve the best content. I deserve the best graphics. Can't buy one. Not for their MSRP, but then what do they do? Because they can't fill all their orders. So they released new graphics cards, the TI range, the 3070 Ti, the 3080 Ti, and the 3090 Ti, all on the market right now. I don't understand how, like, I get they're a business, right? Like, they've clearly got a situation they can capitalize on, but this is blatantly engineered, right? Like, the prices they release these things at, they know are not the prices they're going to sell at. They demonstrated that with the 3000 series launch, with all the scalping and all that stuff. And they say that they're trying to sort of limit it and watch for the bots and stuff like this, but they're not. They're not. Why? Because they get to go and say, buy our 3070, it's 350 quid MSRP, and that's cheaper than AMD. And it's like, no, you're lying. Because you've got more, they've got more. They obviously have more, or they couldn't have made the TIs, because the TIs are the same mechanical parts, just released later and unlocked and stuff, right? So they are faster, they are better. Like, I'm not disputing that, but the reality is, they could have just said, there's no TIs this generation. We're going to make sure that everyone can buy a card at MSRP, and they don't. And I've got a chip on my shoulder, you know. I've got a real chip on my shoulder about Nvidia, so I'm tempted to go Team Red, if I'm honest. And that segues very nicely into the next piece, which is AMD. AMD. Ooh. So they're growing real fast. For a very long time, there's been this debate, if you don't know, between... thank you so much, Claire. Between AMD and Intel. They both create processors. Intel, for basically all of time, have been the leaders in this sort of realm. They've always had the best, they've always had the fastest, the most cost-effective. Generally, AMD tried to balance it out by just adding more CPU cores. So for the same money, you'd get more processing power, but more cores doesn't solve anything if the software you're running doesn't use more cores. And obviously, because Intel were the majority, no software used them extra cores. Now, we're seeing a real shift in the market, especially over the last 12 months. AMD have done wonders. It's the reason I for a long time, was dogmatic about it and said, I'll never buy an AMD processor. They're too hot.
Thank you so
much. Thank you so much, Doctor. And I actually did. For this computer here is running on an AMD R9 3900X, which is the last generation of... It's just ridiculous. It's the most powerful processor I've ever owned. Arm and a leg ahead. And AMD are clawing their way up the consumer market. So more desktops owned in homes. Sorry. People like domestic customers are buying more AMD processors than ever before, and they're starting to tip the tide against Intel. Now, Intel remain in the lead. They're still the big bucks. They're still the big boys due to the data centers, like all your Googles, your Amazon Web, your AWS, and all that stuff. They all run on Intel still. But even in that space, they're starting to back out. You know, you've had Apple have offed Intel completely and built their own CPUs from the ground up. You've got that's the main one, now that I think about it. What's the other one? It just immediately left my brain. It doesn't matter. We'll come back to it. It will come up. But so Intel know this is happening. They see this happening. They can see, oh, that was it. That Google have started to also build their own sort of bespoke processors for their data centers. So like YouTube now, for the encoding, uses all of their own in-house created processors rather than Intel and NVIDIA graphics cards. So we're slowly seeing two trends. Intel are fucked, and specialist cloud-based computing like stacks are starting to really invest heavily in specialized processors that can just do one thing extremely efficiently. And all this is obviously because the power costs are the ultimate cost of running a data center. So they want to get as much out of the data center as they can for as little electricity. So Intel have seen this happening, and they've realized they've got no presence whatsoever in the graphics card industry. So they're launching their own graphics cards. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to call it the Qi. X-E, Qi, Shi, Share. I don't know. Something like that. So there's been some leaked sort of test results coming out about the, we'll call them XE. Yeah, we'll call them XE. We'll go with that. With these XE cards, whereby they're looking like they're like uber powerful, like right up there with the RTX 3090 and AMD 6900 XT, like the big boy ones. Now, we don't know if they're also going to release lower end cards, but it is really interesting. Like, I also don't know what they're going to be like for interoperability in terms of, you know, can you just plug an Intel card into an AMD motherboard? No one knows the answers to these questions. But what we do know is Intel are working hard to address this issue. Now, lastly, this whole science and tech bit right now is purely about processors. I love it. I love a processor. So the two big boys that make processors, like the actual companies, so even though Intel make processors, they don't, like they buy machines that can make processors. And the company that makes those machines is called TSMC. And also Samsung do the same. So these two companies have now started work on their 5 nanometer node, which means the smallest component in future processors will be 5 nanometers, which is like stupid. It's stupid. It's nanotechnology. It's literally like so tiny. So like my processor has 7 nanometer components. So we're about to drop nearly another 50%. Breakas saying it's TMC. It could well be TMC. And so like Intel are just so far behind this curve. Like they're still releasing 10 nanometer CPUs, and there's no obvious indication that they're going to be able to jump the curve and really get ahead into 5 nanometer, because it's just so expensive to buy all these machines, put them in factories, hire people that know how to use them. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, thanks, Claire. So it's happening. It's going down big time. CPUs, GPUs. This is the time to be alive, you know. And I think especially in the streaming space, the amount of power that we're about to get access to in terms of processing power. I mean, look at the stuff that we can already create in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's just going to go off big time. In other science and technology news, Jeff Bezos is going into space. He built his own space company, Blue Origin, quite a few years back. They've been in direct competition with Elon Musk's SpaceX. So it's interesting though, because like Elon Musk puts forward the idea that he's doing it for the good of the species, whereas Jeff Bezos is like, I just want commercial space. Like I just want hotels in orbit. He don't fuck about. He's not lying. He's not trying to pretend he's doing it for a good reason. He just wants to go into space and have holidays. I'm dreading that clip. What have I done? You know, if it's a Hammerland clip, you've got to watch it. You know that you're in it. I always do it. He's a master of the clip. Claire, you're a master of the clip too. So there is a petition in place to try and get Jeff Bezos to stay in orbit. Obviously, I don't know how that works because, like, normally you'd petition a government, but space is technically everyone's. So I don't think it's going to work. I think he's going to go and come back, unfortunately. But then also, he's no longer the CEO of Amazon, right? So it's kind of irrelevant. Like, he's passing on the mantle. I don't think many people know this, but yeah, he's stepping down from Amazon. He's going to be focusing on his other ventures and spending his billions. He's obviously still a majority shareholder, so while he's stepping down, he's still going to be earning like more money than anyone can spend. But that's Jeff Bezos for you. Loving it. Going to space. He's still the chairman. There you go. We just did the science and technology segment. So next up, I'm going to be pressing through swiftly into culture. Now, there's been lots of controversial for Shizney going down. Be right back. It works. I need to get feedback on volumes of stuff and all that. I've done some tests, but it can be different online, so you just let me know how it's going. So in the world of culture today, this week, or this MNR, what's gone down? So I'm going to start with Twitch, because that's where we are. It's where I am. The love of my life. Twitch has gone a bit nuts. Mainly because we're stuck in a bit of a weird situation with Twitch, right? So there's a few facts that it's worth just laying out on the table about Twitch. First fact. They do not get enough ads for all the Twitch streamers to run ads, right? So right now, if every Twitch streamer that's live clicked run ad, they wouldn't be able to satisfy all them requests because Twitch already has a trouble with the platform. There's a lot of controversial channels. There's a lot of illegal shit that goes down in terms of restreaming like UFC fights and pay-per-view events. There's a lot of DMCA concerns. There's no, you didn't get an ad when you came in here because I ran an ad before the stream started, or like in the pre-stream, so that it turns off the ads for any newcomers. So that's one thing that streamers can do to save their viewers from ads, is we can run them in advance, and then we get like 40 minutes of allowed no ad time, or ad-free zone, sorry. So that's one fact to bear in mind. Twitch already has a challenge in monetizing their platform and their streamers. Now we're also seeing the like uprising of smoking hot chicks going in hot tubs, right? So Twitch have attempted to address this by creating a hot tub category that they require anyone in scant clothes. So it's hot tubs, pools, and spas, I think, or something like that. So basically, anyone that's less than clothed needs to stream into that category, and that category is not available for advertisers. And that's their attempt to sort of mitigate this issue of hot tub streams effectively being like an OnlyFans funnel for 13-year-old boys. And it's not working. So all that's happened is it kind of sent the message to some of these prolific female hot tub streamers that it's kind of like a cap tip, you know? Go for it. Love it. Smash it to bits. So most recently, one of the biggest hot tub streamers, Amaranth, as well as Indie Fox, they were both banned. Not sure for how long for, I think 3 days. And it's really brought this issue into like the forefront of at least the Twitch streaming community, because it's just like, I think I'm a good example to debate from the opposite perspective, right? So I don't run a safe for work or really a safe for 13-year-old stream, right? I've got the 18 plus tag. If you come into this stream, you have to click a button to say you're over 18. No different to Amaranth, right? Obviously, I don't think I offer... That's why. So what they got banned for, and this does lead into what I was just saying, what they got banned for was, so like Indie Fox's ban is the easiest to describe. She was sat on her knees with a stereo ASMR microphone. So it's like two separate microphones that look like ears. And people could pay her to lick the ear. And because it's an ASMR microphone, it sounds really like up close and personal and in your brain. And obviously the licking noise is very suggestive. But at the same time, she sort of went back into like the yoga child pose. So she was just like in skin tight jeggings, buttock filling the screen, making licking noises on this stereo microphone. And like 2 days after it went down, she got a ban for sexually explicit content. Now, the long and short of it is Twitch needs to make a fucking decision. They need to make a decision. Are they going to allow 18 plus sexually explicit content on their platform? I'll be honest, I don't really want it on here. Like, there's a whole internet of porn. Why do we need Twitch to stream porn? There's no need. Like, I just don't understand it. Like there's just no safety anymore. There's no innocence in the world, right? But one thing I can confirm is 13-year-old boys love watching thick chicks in scant clothes. That is fact, and that sells. And if I could do that, I would capitalize on it. So it's a good insight there, Claire. I mean, definitely, I think if Twitch was to go through my chat history, see, I don't know, because like it's just words, right? I think there's a difference between words and actions, and the streamer is the representative of Twitch's platform, right? So when you arrive at a stream, that should be a representation of what you can expect. You could get the gay market. Okay, I'll start the community thing for a hot tub stream and we'll see how it goes. So anyway, that is ultimately the news on Twitch at the moment. I mean, there's a few big streamers coming up, mostly in the Minecraft category as far as I'm aware. There's gimmicky stuff like this going down, which is awesome. So chuffed that this is working. Oh my god, it's working. So what's next? Marvel. In the culture category, is that fair? I think it's fair. I think if Marvel isn't part of your culture, then this is not your tribe. So Loki. I've not seen episode 3 either. Please no spoilers in chat. What are you thinking? I'm loving it. I highly recommend. There's a YouTube channel, The Film Theorists. They just released a really interesting video on Loki, talking about. I can sort of surmise it for you though. They're sort of suggesting that what Loki as a series is aiming to do is basically stick a big finger up to all of the hardcore fans that want continuity between everything. So like, there's already quite a few continuity issues between like the Scarlet Witch show, WandaVision, and like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for example. Like the Darkhold is in both and it looks totally different. So what they're suggesting is that the entire premise of this series is to basically say, nah, anything goes. Everything that's ever existed is just a different universe now. And so I'm really fascinated to see where this goes. Like, I'm really enjoying. It's going to be good to meet all the different Lokis as well. I'm curious to see how they roll with that, because obviously Tom Hiddleston is such a diverse actor. Like, he's got so much potential. So I think that we're in for a real treat. And as I said in the go live notice, I'm interested in doing a cheeky little Loki episode 3 watch party a bit later tonight. So if you are interested in that, stick around. It will be happening in Discord, but we'll do that. We'll watch it together. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Wimbledon tickets got cancelled. Everyone bought them. Everyone was bang into it. They were like, oh, this is my first event in years. I can't wait to go. Now they've been cancelled, but the Euros isn't. You can still go to a Euro match at Wembley. Not totally certain I understand how that works. Really not sure what the fuck's going on with all these rules. I don't know. Ticketmaster just refunded everyone's tickets and said nah. So that went down. The European Championships is on right now. Scotland drew with England. And that's as much as you'll get out of me about football. I'm not into like tribalist sports that like reinforce or at least predispose people to be bigoted racists. Or xenophobic at the least. I'm not into it. Not into it. No. But yeah, Scotland are now out. I'll add that little tidbit on. And right now, that's all of the culture I've been exposed to. It's not much, because basically what I do my entire life is I'm either parenting, working, or streaming. And that's the 3 things I do. And occasionally we do some of this new stuff. But we're going to be condensing that down into this format moving forwards. Now, I do have a very special little segue break for you. This is a little rant here from a good friend of ours, Breaker, in chat. This is Breakas Breakdown. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be right back in about 6 minutes.
So obviously we're going to talk about today is the government's new sweeping powers that they've had over us for the last 18 months. Obviously not allowing us to do anything, which is obviously it was a good thing, but they did it way too fucking late. Didn't shut the borders. Boris fucking let the variant from the Delta or whatever they want to call it, because he wanted to have a fucking meeting with India. You're like, you fucking kidding me? Like with the Euros, why is there 20,000 people in a stadium? And then next week there's going to be 45,000 people in a stadium. And we're not allowed to dance at wedding receptions, where there will be about 10, 20, 30 people max. Explain that to me. And you can't tell me it's fucking outside and the virus will get blown away. Because what if it blows in my face? Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Don't work like that. People get hit in the face all the time by stuff getting blown in the wind. Ask Tornado Alley in America. So yeah, I'm not a fan of all this sweeping powers returning into. Basically, they want everyone to live like they do in China under the CCP. Like, for example, they wanted to bring in those fucking passport vaccine. Like, fuck off. Vaccine passports to go on holiday, suck my dick. Like, ain't happening. We live in a free country. And they now want to sell our fucking medical records. I thought they were supposed to be private. That's the whole fucking point of going to a doctor, is that your medical information is private. It's private data, which surely comes under the Data Protection Act. You can't just sell someone's medical records for profit. Like, no, you can't do that. They're cunts, mate, and everyone's just sitting around because they're getting paid, and no one's doing anything. And now everyone's going, I don't want to go back to my old job. I'm going to go and do something else. And then everyone goes, oh, we've got a shortage of workers, rah, rah, rah. And it's all to do with Brexit, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, no, it hasn't, because we've got 1.7 million people unemployed in this country as of now, and 1.3 million people left. So that gives us a surplus of 400,000. So if we start telling the people that are claiming the unemployment benefits who don't want to work, sorry, you're going to go and pick vegetables, you're going to go work in warehouses, you're going to learn to, if you've got a driving license, you're going to learn to drive a van. all your benefits get stopped. That's how the benefit system works. So this whole excuse of, oh, we haven't got, oh, it's Brexit. No, because what happened when the pandemic hit, everyone went back to their own countries to be with their families because we were in a fucking pandemic, and then they chose not to come back. Yeah, because we said you can't come back because you have to apply for a visa, and they couldn't be bothered to fill out a bit of paperwork like everyone's moaning about. Oh, I need to fill in a visa. I need to fill in an application if I want to go and live in another country. Yeah, like most of the world does. Just because you're fucking white European, you think you have some special right? No, sorry. You can't have uncontrolled immigration. You just can't. It doesn't work because you need to budget for schools, hospitals, police, fire, social services, housing for a start. And we're on a tiny little island, if anyone hasn't noticed. So, and we're not building houses at the rate that we need to deal with the population that we have. So you can't have uncontrolled immigration. Yeah, it may look good, i.e. all the jobs are filled, but they're not. So it doesn't work. It never has worked. Like, ask any country in the world that's tried it. It doesn't work. So, yeah, that's pretty much my rant over. Like, I hate the government. I don't trust any of them. I can't vote for any of them because they're all bought and paid for. You know this. I know this. All their promises during campaigns never bear any fruit. Ever. Oh, we want to help this. We want to do this. We want to do this. Oh, we can't do it because there's not enough money. But we're going to give ourselves a 10% pay rise. Hang on a minute. You're giving the NHS workers, nurses, staff, and all that 1%, if that, because of inflation, they're actually getting a pay cut. But you've asked them to risk their lives throughout this pandemic. The cunts. The cunts. They did all their little friends deals. Yeah, here's a fucking few hundred million. Here's $1 billion. Yeah. Oh, track and trace system doesn't work. Oh, why is that? Oh, because we used fucking Excel. Why did you do that? Oh, because we got our mates to do it and we didn't really check with people that actually know what they're doing. Fucking, it's been a fuck up since day one, mate. Since day one. And I'm sick of it. I really am. I'm sick of it. Sick of all of them. They're all they're there is for power and money. That's it. That's it. That you can see. They should do what I can't remember who said it, or there's a meme out there that politicians should wear like the sponsorship logos of the companies that are funding them for their little political campaigns and stuff. You know, where they get like free holidays and like they get bunged a load of money, so a law gets passed in the favour of their mate. Because we all know it goes on, but we're all too busy fighting between ourselves because they come out with bullshit fucking slogans that just fuck everyone off and everyone starts arguing with each other. Just look at Twitter. Fucking hell. Facebook, YouTube, comments. It's all vile shit. And trust me, you wouldn't do that if you were stood right in front of my face. Because you wouldn't, because you'd end up getting punched in the fucking face. Because that's what happens in real life, in the real world. Like, you can say whatever you want behind the keyboard. Like me, I can say whatever I want on this call. Because I know, at the end of the day, I'm safe in my house. And this country fucks me off. People moaning about shit. And you're just like, really? What are you moaning about? You've got a roof over your ass. You got fucking clothes on your back, food in the cupboard. You got government giving out money fucking left, right and centre. And yeah, I know there are people struggling, but like the people that aren't actually struggling, that start complaining and getting offended for other people, it really fucks me off because what you virtue signaling cunt. If you really cared, you'd go out and do something. You wouldn't do a TikTok video. You would write a little comment on a Facebook post. You'd shut your fucking mouth. Go out and actually help these people. Stop virtue signalling for the likes of cunts. Oh, mate.
Okay, well, there's our good friend Breaker there breaking it down on the government. He obviously has some very interesting views. He's in chat, and do engage him. I mean, he loves a debate, our Breaker. He really does. Agree, disagree, agree, really disagree. Believe me, I know. I've known this man 15 years or something nuts like that, and yeah, I can empathise. So, next up on the agenda, we are going to continue the thread. We're getting political. It works. We have the technology, unlike the Conservative government. So you can't go political these days without starting off with Rona. Oh, Rona. Oh, Rona. So where do we start? Where do we start? I've got notes for this because it's just huge. It's a huge topic, and it's, yeah. I guess the first thing to ask, which was kind of alluded to there in Breaker's little rant, was, are these rules ever actually gonna go? Like, are they actually? I saw a really scary article in the BBC News this week, which was titled, "Government warns there's a projection that there's going to be a tidal wave of flu illnesses this winter, and so they're considering extending the laws for that." And it takes me back to 2001. Do you know what I mean? Patriot Act. Has that ever gone? Do you remember? Do you remember what happened when the towers fell and Bush put in place the Patriot Act? And what did he say? These are temporary powers. Because he literally got the powers of a dictator, right? Like, every single thing he said became an executive order that was then immediately law. And there was no longer the traditional parliamentary or diplomatic process in place, right? So that's kind of what we've got now, again, but in Britain and everywhere, to be fair. And it's really fucking scary. Like, I can't think of a time when government has had this level of power. And I've read quite a lot of history. Like, maybe the Romans, ish. But even then, it was almost easier because they just had a slave caste. And then landowners, and landowners were like the big dicks. I mean, yeah, Hamalam chucks out the king back in Henry VIII days, and oh man, it's really scary. I mean, that's a fair point, Claire. Yeah, like, freedom is an illusion, right? The reality is we live in a natural dictatorship. Yeah. So anyone that tries to pretend that democracy gives them freedom is deluded. Because what democracy doesn't give you is a bulletproof skull, so you can be killed. So it's like there is no freedom to an extent. But what we definitely did have was privileges that are being eroded, right? And the real question I think we need to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do about this? Because, you know, they're using the coronavirus laws to stifle protests. They're literally saying you can't protest these laws because that means you have to be together, which breaks the laws you're trying to protest against. Which, there's no such thing as a right. Anyway, the point being, I'm very concerned. Very, very concerned. I can't think of any precedent where a government has gained power over the populace they rule, and then relinquished that power voluntarily. I can think of no precedent, like, literally none. You could probably argue that, like, the devolved parliaments of Northern Ireland, Wales, and Scotland are kind of an instance of that, but really it's not, right? Like devolving just means there's now more political jobs which the political class benefit from, because now they can give their mates jobs. Yeah. So I can think of no example. I can think of no example, and that's what scares me, is the government have now put us in a position where they tell us to do something and we do it. They tell us to stay in our house and we stay in our house. They tell us to, you know, set the example for our children that you have to wear a fucking mask all the time because you're dangerous to other people. It really don't. That's touching a nerve on me, that is, because it really pains me to think about what this impact is having on my daughter. Like, she's 4 and she's in nursery, and we get sent like photos on this like app of her at nursery, and you can see all the staff in the background with masks on all day. Like, she never sees a smile during the day other than other children. It's nuts. It's nuts. And God forbid what it's doing to her perception of reality and emotion. So following on from that, Scotland have banned travel to and from Manchester. I mean, I just don't even, what the fuck? What the fuck? They've literally targeted one geographical area and said, if you can't, like, I can cross the border and go around Manchester, but if I go into Manchester, I can't come back to Scotland. It's lunacy. And the thing that really gets me about this, like, at its core, is something that we've discussed on this channel a few times, which is this. I have a fundamental sort of disagreement with the concept of legislating against acts, like physical things that you can do, and then writing down rules that say you can't do them, right? So, like, this is an example where I can go to Manchester. Like, I can. Like, it doesn't matter that there's a rule that says I can't. I actually can. And so they've spent all of these public resources to debate it, to get royal assent on this change in law, right? Because we still, even though we live in a democracy, like, at the end of the day, the Queen has the legal right to reject any law that she wishes, and it will not become law. So ultimately, like, the Queen does write the laws. It's her signature that makes it law. So all of them processes are invoked every time they change the Coronavirus Act again. It gets debated. It goes to the House of Lords. They debate it. It gets royal assent. Then it goes into official law. And fundamentally, it doesn't matter, because we can still fucking do it. Like, you can still do it. Smoking weed's illegal, but you can still buy weed and smoke it. What is the point in writing laws down to stop people doing stuff they can do? Now, you can take it to the nth degree, and you can say, oh, well, what about murder? Like, we write down that murder is illegal. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a judiciary, right? I'm not saying... That's a good bit. That's a good bit. No, that's perfect. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have police, like an independent police, whose job it is to protect, yeah, exactly, the common law rights of humans, or at least the rules that state, in a nutshell. Oh, here he goes. Hamalam is a law student, so I'm treading on thin ice here. So the common law effectively states don't hurt people, and hurting people counts as both physical hurting and, like, material hurting. So, like, if you own a house and then I smash your window, I've hurt you. So that's a common law offence, right? And that is tried in a separate process to contract law. But for some reason, we've allowed our system to fall into this mode of operation where we write statutes and acts to control people's actions. Give me a red, fuck it. Oh, he's got yellows. Love it. And to me, that is just backwards. It's a fundamental waste of time and effort. Like, the Coronavirus Act was never necessary, yeah? And look at the first lockdown. The first lockdown wasn't enshrined in law. It was recommended and everyone followed it. Everyone followed it. They went on to the news and they said, we recommend all employers work from home. We recommend all employees work from home. We recommend no one leaves their home. We can't force you to do it, but we recommend it or the NHS will get flooded. And we all did it. And then the rules just got more anyway. Absolutely. Lawful and legal, two different things. So anyway, Scotland have banned travel to and from Manchester. There's absolutely not a stitch in hell that these coronavirus laws are going away. If they do, it will be just replaced by exactly the same permission, like powers, but in a different name. We've already got the signs that that's going to be the case, because they're obviously putting out these news articles stating that there's a possible wave of flu. It's fucked up. I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. What do we do? Do we create a Makashi nation? Is that the next logical iteration of this process? Is this the beginning? Is it? I will be your king. Anyway, next, Brexit. Brexit means Brexit, boys. Brexit means Brexit. Oh, fuck. Got a few topics to touch on here. Oh, the food supply. Oh, the food supply. Where the fuck do you go from a news show to a dictator? This is all part of the propaganda, you see. This is what old Xi Jinping learned long ago, is you've got to have a forum. So I'm very concerned with what's happened with Brexit, mostly with regards to the food supply. Like, I've had 3 instances now where I've gone into a Tesco's and there's been no fresh fruit, veg or meat. Like, literally, I live in a first world country and I couldn't buy fresh fruit and veg. And that was like, wow. Now, I will accept that this was within about 2 weeks of the actual close date. Congratulations, Dr. Steph, of our like EU membership. And it does seem to have improved quite a bit ever since then. And obviously I live in Scotland, right? So like, we're kind of safe from all this. Like, if the shit hits the fan, we can just stop exporting stuff and then we can feed everyone. So it's not an issue for us, but it's really scary to see that. Like, even in the height of the lockdown, the only things that ran out were like loo roll and that, right? Like, we still had all the food on the shelves. I could still go and feed my family. And already we're starting to see these issues. Now, the reason I mention this isn't necessarily because of Brexit affecting our food supply, right? Like, there's a bigger picture to this. The big picture is our climate is fucked. And we've already seen like record crop failures across the whole of Europe, across Central America, down into Africa. This year has been a tragic year. We had like this really weird frost come in like April time, May. Sorry, I just reading that comment from Claire. That is nuts. It's like Tesco are preparing for the return of scurvy. So that's the food supply issue. Soon what's going to happen is there's going to be serious issues with us actually maintaining our supply chain. And the second that happens, the EU are going to lock the border to us. And that's the bit I'm scared about, is when we were in the EU, the member states had the responsibility to distribute everything equally amongst everyone. Now we're not. We aren't even part of that conversation. Now, the flip side to that is if you look at like the vaccines, for example, I'm pretty certain that whilst I'm aware being in the EU wouldn't have changed the speed at which we could create the AstraZeneca vaccine, the fact that we can distribute it within our nation has been a huge deal. Like, we are well ahead of the rest of Europe and a lot of the world. And the main reason for that is if we were still in the EU, we would have a legal responsibility to distribute it equally amongst all of the member states. And we've not had that legal responsibility. So I think that's a bit of a balanced perspective on Brexit. We're certainly not finished. The only last point to raise is the fish. I'm fucking sick to the back teeth of hearing about the fish. It's bollocks. What is this all about, eh? Like, We are spending so much money arguing about who can fish where, and we're ignoring the reality that we can't make the fish go any particular place. Like we can't make the fish be in English waters. So what does it matter if we fish in English waters? Like, what you need to do is fish where the fish are. Anyway, I'm so over it. They need to fucking sort it out. I'm with Breaker on this. It is messed up. And now we will elevate your moods with a nice, fun category. Yay! Gaming! Woo woo! So this is the fun one. This is my favourite one, I think, actually. Tech and science is probably the one I know most about, but gaming's the one that I'm most passionate about. So where the hell do we start? I mean, we've just had E3. So I'm going to start with me first. Me. So yesterday, Greenhow and Astroneer both had new updates released. So immediately after the Makashis News Rundown, I'll be having a brief break. Then we will be moving on to probably Greenhow, be checking that new update out. They've introduced the Spirits of Amazonia Part 2. Greenhow's an amazing survival game. Really intense, really scary. You're trapped in the Amazonian rainforest. You have to like maintain everything, your macros, like your carbs, protein, fats, and your hydration. You have to monitor your limbs because you get like leeches on your arms or on your legs. You can get cuts and infections, and it is amazing. I love that game so much. So I can't recommend that enough as a game. Likewise, they've got their most recent... don't worry, we're wrapping it up at 8. Nailed it, Claire. Their most recent update, which introduces a whole extra story, which is the backstory of the original campaign career mode. Love it. You'll be able to see that after 8 o'clock. Astroneer is a quirky little survival sci-fi game. The thing I love about Astroneer most is that the whole world is built on what's called voxels. So you can actually like suck up the whole planet and redistribute it as you see fit. So like you can flatten out a planet, for example. Great little game. They've just released the hoverboard update, which looks sick. Like getting around in that game can be a problem. So having a hoverboard is going to be the shit. And I can't wait to go and get one. And we're going to be straight onto that, straight after MNR. Now back into E3. Girls with good head game would boss that. That's completely out of context, and I don't know what he means, so I'm just going to press on. E3, what were my takeaways? Back for Blood looks sick. It's the next in the series from Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. It's going to be awesome. Multiplayer, online, zombies, horde modes, all of it. It's on my list of games to play. When it comes out, I believe it's launching straight onto Xbox Game Pass. Whether it's on Ultimate and therefore I don't know. Probably not. Probably stitch me up. I have to pay for it anyway. But I'm really hyped for that game. Also interested in... There's a game called Blanco's Block Party, which whilst I was watching E3, I won like a Twitch drop. And that's a really interesting like game. It's kind of like Fall Guys. Hey Vinu, welcome back. Hello. You missed most of the show, but it will be available on YouTube later. I am recording. Blanco's Block Party is like Fall Guys, but the really unique thing about it is the characters. I see that Ham's just paid me to not play that game. But anyway, the characters are actual, you know, like the little toys you get that have got the big heads. I can't remember what their names are right now, but you can get like all the Marvel characters in them and stuff. Well, when you have a character in the game, it is also an actual like action character that you can buy with real money. And you then legally own that character. So if you like change its, if you customize it with like different outfits and stuff like that, you can then sell your character in the game for real money and then buy a new one and do it up. I think that's a really cool idea. Like, I think we definitely need to start looking at how we're going to cross the barrier between gaming and the virtual economy and how we start to actually gamify income. Because obviously you can stream and earn cash for playing games, but that's quite inaccessible. And I think this is a really interesting thing to keep an eye on. Anything else? Assassin's Creed, more DLCs. We've been replaying the Assassin's Creed franchise since November. So that's a thing. We're on Valhalla now. That'll be coming out a bit later, probably. We'll see. I don't know how I feel. Chat, you got any other games that stuck out for you in E3? Clash of Clans. Oh, Vinu, you're on the mobile. Were there any good mobile games? I think Call of Duty Mobile's about to go huge, isn't it? I think. I'm not sure. Do you know what? I watched so much of E3.
Thank you for subscribing to the channel. You are Diamond Geezer.
We are not worthy, Dr. Steph. Thank you so much. Say thank you, Vinu. Say thank you. Yeah, Halo Infinite and Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds 2 looks sick. Elden Ring. Well done, Hammerlam. Thank you. Pulling the weight there. I had to consult with legal on this segment. So Elden Ring, I believe, is that So it's in the Dark Souls universe, right? But it's all the lore was written by George R.R. Martin, the maker of Game of Thrones, which is a pretty big deal. I don't know if many people know that, actually. But yeah, George R.R. Martin wrote all the background story like 6 or 7 years ago, and I've been building this game ever since. It looks immense, very purdy. And Dying Light 2. More zombie games. More zombie games. I'm just going to let the silence just live for a second, because we did it. Makashis News Rundown. Well, that's gaming for you. There's loads of games. You can play loads of games. Don't worry about that. Get Xbox Game Pass. Please do stick around. Give me a follow if you can. Give me a Twitch Prime if you can. Feel free to sub. I love it all. We'll be back next week with an actual 1 week Makashis News Run. So I'll be... news rundown. I'll be keeping an eye on the news for the next week, populating articles. It will be a little bit more like focused, I think, because I'll actually have like a week to just focus on that week, whereas I've had to just pull stuff from whenever for this one. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. As I mentioned in the go live notice and in my title, this is my 1 year Twitch anniversary, so I'm hoping to be going probably for 12 hours, probably. I think I'll probably be live till 7 in the morning. So Claire, if you're up, come on back in, see how I'm holding up. Thank you so much for all being here. I really appreciate it. And in particular, Dr. Steph, for all of her efforts in producing this incredible scene, all of the cutaways. I'm blessed by all of you. Thank you. I'm all right. It's not been long since the last one, so I'm not really gagging for it. And she was like, okay. I'm a eunuch, so I can't actually like have like, any other kids. So I'm intending on going hard. I don't know how long for. It's like a professional one. Get the fuck. Get the fuck. Get the fuck. No, get the fuck. 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 Get the fuck out.